Y seguimos en Misión Posible con este artículo de Harvard Business Review, edición latinoamericana, que lo que dice es que los líderes, además de guiar las iniciativas, deben acompañar desde el soporte a sus equipos para asegurar la implementación de la estrategia, así tengan todos los recursos en tiempo y forma. ¿Y a través de qué herramienta? A través del coaching. Y estábamos conversando con Jim Selman, que es el padre del coaching, y él dice que hay un único coaching, que es el coaching, lo que en Argentina se llama coaching ontológico, que tiene que ver en relación con la lingüística, y que Jim Selman dice que es una forma de ser. Jim, we have to finish in the first block with leaders and coach are more or less the same. Can you define leader for me?
Well, what I'm talking about is people that are involved in bringing into existence a new reality.
Okay.
Now, a leader may be doing that for a community or a society or an organization, whereas a coach may be doing it with an individual. But at the level of action, it's the same. It's the same. I'm not talking about leader as a role or a job. I'm talking about it as a way of being and a practice in life. At the end of the day, we're all leaders and we're all coaches in one relationship or another, or at least we could be. Yes.
Okay. If an organization wants to have a coaching program, in terms of all the experience you have as consultant, as facilitator, and as a coach, what can they expect as a benefit, real, concrete?
Yeah, well, as you and I were talking, first of all, that the foundation for coaching is other people's commitment. Okay. You can't coach someone who's not committed, and you can't accomplish anything more than what they're committed to. Okay. Now, it's also true that coaches are often showing people possibilities and engaging them in ways that people can make bigger commitments. I'll tell you a story.
But the other one has to choose that and go forth.
Absolutely, because the power in a coaching relationship is with the commitment of the coachee. In a traditional management relationship, the power is with the manager and the knowledge and the authority of the position. But to give you an example, there was an organization in Sao Paulo that we worked with quite extensively. Was a business unit of a multinational organization, and it was at the bottom of all of the business units in the world in that particular company. They never made a profit. There was a very paternalistic culture, very Latin. There was a lot of separation and silos and distrust between individuals behind the polite and friendliness on the surface. We started working in February of 2006. By October of 2006, they'd earned $38 million and never having made a profit. They had transformed the relationship between the various people in the executive team.
Can you repeat that for the audience?
They had gone from never having made a profit to having made a 38 million real profit. And they did that against all expectations. In fact,
all odds.
Nobody thought it was possible. But if you think about it, I love the name of your program, because almost every breakthrough in history, in any domain, begins with somebody committing to a possibility that everybody else doesn't think is possible, and then organizing one's commitments and actions around that possibility. And this is what this company did. They not only became the most profitable company in the group,
but they changed their...
But they moved from the bottom to the top 5%, became one of the 5 major growth companies for that group.
So you have to go back.
Well, I'm still going back quite a lot. But the other thing is, more importantly, the multinational, the headquarters, saw what was happening, realized that there was no precedent for it. It was not only best practices for their group, but it also was an originally new practice, a new technology that they'd never seen before. And if I could really bring it down to this, Patricia, I would say there's something serious going on the planet, okay? And it has to do with the fact that whatever we've been doing to make it work isn't working anymore. Things are changing faster and faster. Solutions are obsolete before they're implemented. Sacred concepts like competition are beginning to get redefined. Knowledge is actually becoming obsolete before we learn it. Okay, we cannot any longer trust our forecasts and predictions. So the question is, how do we navigate? How do we orchestrate our actions in that kind of a world? It's never going to go back to being slow and easy and predictable. And the answer, I think, is in this whole idea of coaching, because coaching is about how do you coordinate action in the game, real time, when you don't have control. Coaches don't control the game. They may prepare the team for the game, but they don't control the team.
And the coaches neither.
That's right. And so what happens is coaching is a kind of metaphor for how you function in the present when the only option is to create the future. Peter Drucker, in his last book, the famous North American guru of management, said the only viable strategy in a world of accelerating change is to create the future. And that's what coaching is about, is creating the future, as is transformational leadership and really anyone that's engaged in a serious way to try to affect the way things turn out. This event that I'm going to be doing in October.
Yes, I was going to go to that.
Yeah, it's called the International Congress for Leadership and Entrepreneurism.
Congreso Internacional de Liderazgo Emprendedor.
Yes, and really what that's about is sharing the experience of all these different things that we've been doing in a very concise way so that people can begin to recover their own personal vision, their own personal sense of responsibility, and can begin to take some of these coaching ideas and coaching tools and apply them in their particular life. So whether people want breakthroughs in their family, or whether they want breakthroughs in their organization, or whether they want breakthroughs in their community, the whole Congress is going to be organized around who are we, what do we want to accomplish, and what's missing for us to accomplish that.
So they are going to work apply the tool to their own life with you.
That's exactly right. Now, in addition, the Congress is going to be looking very deeply at a question about women and leadership. One of the things you and I were talking about is that women often have to sacrifice something of their nature when they begin to be leaders, and they get caught up in the masculine, paternalistic view of leadership. And so it's going to be an exploration into the history of women leaders and leadership, and at the same time pose the question, what's missing for us to be women and leaders at the same time and not have to give up?
Do you have the answer?
Well, I don't have the answer, actually, because I think the question is too important.
Okay.
And so I think it's more important to ask the question sometimes than jump on the first answer that comes to your mind. And then we're also going to be looking at a lot of views in terms of what's going on in our world and how can we begin to think about some of the things that are going on around us in a way that can actually empower us to take some action rather than just simply become spectators.
The Congress is going to last 2 days.
Yes, that's right.
It's not enough?
Well, probably it's a start.
Okay, it's a very good start.
Yeah.
And then do you plan to come back again?
Well, I've been in Buenos Aires many, many times.
Yes, I know.
And I intend to be here many, many more times.
Okay. Why a career in coaching? In Argentina, we have a career, and I think you are the father, or at least the godfather.
The origination of that first institute and the first formal educational career and coaching was really built on the idea that Argentina has a relatively short period of time, I don't know how long, to really make its mark in the world and to discover who you want to be. Because if you don't know who you are, then you can't make a contribution in the bigger world. So as we're becoming one globe or one world, Argentina needs to take its place at this table. And to do that, it needs change agents. It needs leadership. It needs people who are willing to operate outside the box and to make commitments to unreasonable outcomes.
What have we lost? If we lost something, a vision maybe, or since 1920 or something like that. We used to be a very well-known country because we used to do whatever we had to, and in terms of also building community welfare and strategic plans for the Argentina. In your point of view, it's a very difficult question.
Well, I don't know that, I certainly don't know a lot of the specifics. I know a little bit just from a lot of friends and being here. I think that one of the things I've distinguished is the ego is to the individual what the culture is to the society. That is to say, they're closed systems that become what I call self-referential, in the sense that they become like talking to yourself. It's like your little voice talking to yourself. I think that Argentina has drifted into a culture in which it's believing its own story. Okay? And if you believe your own story, you're forever trapped in the past. And the cure, I think, has got to be leadership. And I was sharing with someone today, the qualities of leadership that are most missing in general
yes.
are humility, gratitude, and love. And that if we can begin to bring those three qualities to bear in every single conversation we have, it doesn't take long before the whole conversation begins to shift, and you begin to live into a possibility rather than sit in the coffee shops talking about whether it's possible or not.
What do you do with distrust that we built a lot?
Well, for most people, distrust is an excuse to keep things the way they are. For a leader, distrust is an action plan. That is to say, it's the raw material for building solidarity and for building a relationship in which we can co-create the future together.
I love it. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
It's a pity we have no more time and you have to run. But I hope we will have you again in the next future.
Well, I would very much like to see you again.
And I hope our companies, governments, and ourselves would apply coaching as a strategic tool to create our own new world, brave new world. Okay? Nosotros nos vamos a más Misión Posible, pero en la semana que viene, con otro artículo de Harvard Business Review, edición latinoamericana, en donde podamos aplicar a todos los días, a nuestras acciones de todos los días, en términos de herramienta estratégica. Muchas gracias. Nos vamos a más Misión Posible, pero en la semana que viene.